Hi, I'm Colin Hung with Swaay.Health, where we tell the stories from the brightest minds in healthcare marketing. I'm very excited to sit down with Liana Guzman, CEO of FOLX Health, here at Collision 2023 in Toronto. Liana, well, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You have a very unique background.
I do.
You are one of the very few people that I know that have a marketing background that's now leading a healthcare provider organization.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So it's very nonlinear. And I'm deeply grateful for that. So I started in marketing. And actually by mistake. So I thought I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And I took a job as a paralegal because I wanted to live in New York. And anyway, realized pretty quickly that what I thought was true about what thought I wanted to go into law because I had this idea that you take really nuanced problems and find novel solutions.
Okay.
And I realized pretty quickly that the legal space is the opposite of that, right? It's how do you fit this square peg into the round hole? And so I ended up falling into a marketing role where I spent the first decade of my career and realized that what I thought was true about law was much more true about marketing, right? Marketing, when done right, allows us to actually move the conversation forward. And so I did that for a decade, and then got a call that blockchain.com in the crypto space was looking for their first marketing executive hire. So I joined there to lead marketing and then eventually became the chief operating officer, and then moved back into marketing at Skillshare, where I was the chief marketing officer for a few years, and then finally got a call about the CEO role at FOLX Health. And so I've never had two companies in the same industry. I've never had the same title. I've really sort of built, but I will say the thing that is true about my background is I've worked in deeply entrenched, heavily regulated spaces pretty exclusively. So law, finance, education, and now healthcare. And there's a lot of similarities between those things. And then, as I said, I think when you have a marketing background, what that forces you to do is actually start from the position of who you're serving. Okay. And when you can think that way, when you're trained to think that way, I think it really benefits you in any role within an organization.
I was just about to ask that. What are some of the marketing skills that you're bringing to this role you have now at FOLX Health?
Yeah, so I would say that is one big one, right? Is that I, in this case, it's patient centricity, but customer centricity, I think, is always at the forefront of how I'm thinking about things. I think some of it is also just, not marketing specific, but just managing, right? Okay. So a lot of my job is how do you hire the best people for the role and then empower them to do their jobs and make it fulfilling for them. And so that I think is true regardless of what industry or career track you're on. The other thing I will say about marketing is a lot of marketing is how do you cut through noise, right? So there are so many directions that you can take with marketing. There are so many areas that you can focus on. And I think a really good marketer understands where you should focus and how you should focus there. And I think that that's true as a CEO as well, right? Like a lot of my job is in a sea of opportunities, how do we find focus? And so I think a lot of that comes more naturally to me because of my years as a marketer.
Healthcare is a challenging industry on its own. We're known to be very backwards and very stuck in our ways.
Yeah.
But on top of that, FOLX Health is servicing a patient population that has a stigma challenge and has access challenges. You've got a lot of challenges on your plate. How do you navigate all of that? And as a marketer and with your marketing mind, how do you thread that needle with all the different, politics involved and the stigmas involved? Talk to me about that.
So I think actually, this is one of the most liberating roles that so taking my CEO hat off, when you think about marketing within FOLX, it is one of the most liberating versions of it, because I think in organizations that are less politically sided, you have to think about how not alienating specific audiences. Okay. We unapologetically know that our community deserves healthcare that we provide. And so, I don't have to worry about alienating someone who doesn't believe in trans rights or LGBTQIA rights more broadly. Like, they were never our audience. And so for me, it's liberating in that way. I would say the other thing that we focus on, now I've gone all the way to that end where it's like people who were never going to support our cause. There are certainly, when you think about things like legislators, being able to tell our story in a way that helps them understand why this is a real need. And for me, that's all about back to that sort of starting with the member, telling those stories. You can't help but feel inspired by and connected to FOLX's mission when you hear our members talk about the ways in which we have improved their lives. And so a lot of the way that we think about marketing is really just how do we tell our patient stories?
I was just going to ask that even as well. Like, have you done any external marketing, or is it mostly being word of mouth in terms of the members that you've been attracting?
Yeah, so a lot of it is word of mouth. I think one of the benefits of this community is that we're not a monolith, but we do have some network effects. I think, we sort of take care of each other. And so a lot of our growth is word of mouth and sort of that organic growth. But we do some marketing, and some of it is actually, I don't even know if I would call it marketing. It's about leveraging our position and our platform to push our ideas forward, right? So as an example, when the Don't Say Gay bill was working its way through Florida, we took out billboards that said "Say Gay,"
right?
And we took them out across from Mar-a-Lago and the state capitol, and so that's an example of like, that wasn't about necessarily driving business, but it was about creating the understanding that for folks who feel unseen or hurt by these laws, there is an organization that is going to, advocate for them. And so we did the same thing in Florida with some of the trans bills. Or in Texas, I'm sorry. So that's sort of how we think about it. And then some of it is just, making sure that we're telling, as I said, those stories in the press or, in advertising so that people who might not otherwise know about us can find us and get that care that they deserve.
I mean, definitely looking at some of the materials that you guys are putting out, there's a definite air of authenticity from the folks that are talking about their stories and the patient stories. And obviously that it's a very powerful way to go to market. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
What advice do you have for other healthcare provider leaders or other healthcare marketers out there? What advice would you give them?
Well, I love that you just brought up authenticity. I've always been a big believer that people talk about marketing and brand as though they're interchangeable. And I think the reality is brand is something that the entire organization should be responsible for. It's as much about what you stand for and who you serve as it is about what you don't stand for and who you don't serve. And so I would say, for marketers, really making sure that you start there so that then what you're marketing. I think sometimes that can get, you sort of let the tail wag the dog where you focus on like the marketing side first. And I think it makes it a lot easier when you have your values and your systems set. And then I would say for healthcare leaders, what I say to everyone ad nauseum is, start with the patient. If I think that the healthcare industry, as Byzantine and opaque as it is, would be, it would benefit tremendously from focusing first and foremost on providing care.
Amazing. By the way, you're probably the first person I've interviewed that used the word Byzantine. And so congratulations on that. And it was a perfect application of that word.
Thank you.
Liana, where can people go to find more information about FOLX Health?
Yeah, we hope you can check us out at FOLXHealth.com. So it's FOLX Health.com.
Awesome. Liana, thank you so much for being on our program today.
Thanks for having me, Colin.
This has been Colin Hung for Swaay.Health. And if you like this interview, go check out more great content at Swaay with 2 A's, .health. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.